Hello and welcome to another video of learning the Polish grammar. Okay, I just gave you a quick spoiler of what's ahead in today's video. Today we are going to be talking about the dative case, I hope. In Polish also called Celownik. And the name comes from the Polish word cel, which is a target or a goal. And why is it a target or a goal? Well, because the dative case, known in Polish as celownik, primarily identifies the indirect object of a verb, so it answers the questions such as komu, czemu, or to whom, to what. Okay? So this is the target or goal case because we're answering to whom we are giving something, to what are we doing something, okay? So it is like the recipient case, okay? It marks the person or thing that receives something or for whom an action is performed. So this video, I hope, will be a lot shorter than the previous one because we have already covered some concepts such as direct or indirect objects, so I will not spend as much time, okay, covering them. So please make sure to watch the previous video if you have not yet already, okay? If you haven't already watched it. So for example, when you have a sentence, Anna gives a present to her sister, okay? Or in Polish, Anna daje prezent swojej siostrze. Anna daje prezent swojej siostrze. Okay? The subject in this whole sentence is usually the first word in a sentence. It is in a nominative case is Anna. Okay? So it's the first noun that answers the question just who is doing an action in this sentence, okay? So boom. We're starting off with Anna. So Anna, and then the action will follow, okay? Okay, I'm gonna try and keep recording, even though my neighbor is giving me a hard time recently. He's drilling and doing some housework, so in any case, if you hear something in the background, I try to edit it down. Just sorry, I'm doing my best, okay? So, we left off at Anna being the subject, so being in the nominative case, right? Because it's just the noun that starts the whole sentence and is the main, well, topic subject, okay? Then Anna gives, so performs the action, okay? Gives what? Gives present. Yes, so why would be the present? And it is in accusative case, okay? We have not covered the accusative case yet, but I have mentioned it in the previous video, okay? So y is the direct object. X, action, y. Y, direct object in accusative case. And then we have a present to her sister, okay? And her sister would be the Z or Z, however you want to pronounce it. And it is the indirect object, okay? Which is in the dative case, okay? Basically meaning to whom is she giving it. So again, who is giving? Anna. What is she giving? Present. To whom? To her sister. Okay? And that's basically the way that different cases work and complement each other, I guess. So we start with the nominative case, performs the action on Y, which is in accusative case, and that action or some effect is given to Z or Z at the end, okay? Which is in dative, okay? So we don't have to worry about the word order at all. We don't have to worry about specific words, but based on just the word endings, they tell us which is the nominative, which is the accusative, and which is the dative, okay? Okay. So some key uses of the dative case. So the verbs of giving, showing, and telling. So this is the most common and intuitive use. It applies to verbs where there is a transfer of an object or information from one entity to another. And just as in a previous example, giving a present to someone, it just naturally enforces this structure, right? Whenever you can imagine a verb that happens on certain thing and presents the effect to someone. Okay, I will give you more examples. That's when you can expect the dative case. Okay, so for example, to give, such as in the previous sentence, to give because you can construct the sentence in a way that I give something to someone. The second one, which is to buy. Why? Because you can buy something for someone. Okay, so it would also follow this case. So I bought flowers. So X, action Y. X is I, action is bought, Y is flowers, and then to or for. To whom? For my mom. The another one is to say or to tell, okay? Because you can say something to someone, okay? You can, I told the truth to someone, okay? For example, next one, to show. I am showing photos to my parents, okay? To lend. I lent money to my brother, okay? And to send. I sent an email to the teacher, okay? So these verbs just naturally follow this pattern. X performs the action on Y to someone, okay? Another thing, specific verbs that always require the dative case. So there are a number of Polish verbs that inherently govern the dative case, even if the English translation doesn't use to, which is super important to realize. These must be memorized. You just have to know that in Polish, these verbs just work that way, that they are being done to someone. So for example, verb help. In English, you just say, I am helping my neighbor. So I am helping someone. Help someone, right? There's no to, help to someone. So in Polish, it is not the case. And you can just think of it as, in Polish, you give help to someone. Okay? That is probably the easiest way to explain it. So, pomagam sąsiadowi, I am helping my neighbor. This word is actually in dative because I am giving help to my neighbor. Okay? I give help to my neighbor. You just have to memorize that this is the way some verbs work. Okay? For example, to thank in Polish is also the same. You give thanks to someone. You give thanks to someone would be the probably easiest way or the most logical. So I thank you for the help. Is dziękuję pani za pomoc. Pani is a formal feminine word, such as miss in English. And it is in dative because you give thanks to her. Okay? And so on with other verbs. To trust, you give trust to someone. Okay? In English, you trust somebody. Trust this man. Trust this man. Okay? In Polish, I don't trust to this man, or you don't give trust to him. Would be the most logical. Okay? Wierzyć, to believe. Again, I give belief to someone. Okay? I give you the belief. I believe in you, right? In this kind of sense. Przeszkadzać, to disturb or to bother. Yeah. I'm not sure if give bothering is the most logical thing here, but the same way, you just have to remember that it is in dative case, okay? Like, you make bother to someone, or you make a disturbance to someone, in that sense, okay? Promise, you give promise to someone, so that's why it follows dative. And to threaten, you give threats to someone, okay? I hope it makes sense. Next thing is impersonal expressions of state or feeling. So this is a very common structure in Polish used to describe physical or emotional states. The person experiencing the state is put in the dative case, okay? So these are basically the standard things such as, I am cold, he is hot, we are sad, are you comfortable? So the basic statements of feeling or some emotional state, right? And in Polish, we use the pronouns. So, yeah, we use the verbs describing the the nouns that just mean cold, hot, sad, and comfortable. But then the pronouns, which are right here, the pronouns, me, mu, nam, vam, these are all different pronouns, personal pronouns, right? Such as our, us, you, his, hers. These are the pronouns, okay? So these are pronouns, and these are pronouns in dative, okay? I will not go into more details because there will be, I also plan to make a dedicated video on pronouns to just gather up and present you everything that there is about pronouns in a separate video, okay? But just be aware that this structure is pretty common as well, okay? That you can explain some state of feeling by, as it is here, I am cold, literally would be, it is cold to me, okay? So that's why it is considered to me, so therefore you use the me pronoun in dative, okay? And this structure is also used for permission and obligation. So, dzieciom nie wolno tu wchodzić, children are not allowed to enter here. So, children, or the first word, dzieciom, is in dative because it is not allowed two children to get here, or something like that, I guess. And yeah, and to have to need to, there's also, it works also in the same vein, okay? And some specific prepositions, so there are only a few of these that generally take, or pretty much always take, the dative case. So, dzięki, which is a word in itself, it just thanks, right? You can just say dzięki, which is just a thanks in Polish. But it can also mean thanks to something. And because we have the to, it should be kind of logical that it will, that the dative case will follow, okay? So I passed the exam thanks to your help, okay? So that's why your help will be in dative, okay? Thanks to your help. Przeciwko, przeciw, so against. So the team is playing against its rivals. So the same way its rivals would be in dative or dative. And in spite of, or against, which is wbrew, another preposition kind of similar to the one before. He acted against my advice. So again, my advice would be in this case the noun or the part in dative, okay? Okay, so after we've covered the use cases, let's go over the endings, which is where the fun begins, right? So let's start off with the toughest one, I guess, which is the masculine, singular. There is a bit of a separation. Well, there should be a separation between animate and inanimate nouns, okay? Which I explained in a previous video, basically it means that animate nouns are living things. Animate nouns deal with the things that are alive. So personal nouns such as a student or a doctor, because, well, they describe a living person, right? Or for example, cat, dog, these are also a living things. In terms of plants, mushrooms, or stuff like that, I'm not sure, honestly. So, yeah. I would say that these are not considered alive, maybe. Actually, I'm not sure. And maybe it is dependent case by case, so yeah, I don't know. Just try to memorize them, I guess. But anyway, there is a big distinction here. So first of all, animate should have the ovi ending in dative. Okay, so we have a nominative student, it becomes studentovi. We have a nominative lekarz, which is doctor, lekarzowi. Okay? And then for inanimate, apparently it should be you, which is, for example, table, stool becomes stołu. But look at this. Telephone, which is the phone, which is, well, not alive, right? But becomes telefonowi. And there is the note here that ovi is becoming more common for inanimate nouns too. So I am actually not so sure if it is the... if there are certain words that can happen in both ways. For example, in both you and ovi. And when we go back to our handy little Wikipedia page with the Polish morphology, okay? I showed you this in the previous video. When we look at masculine nouns, so in the genitive case, it was the plural that is pretty tough. And there is asterisk here because we have to look at 5 different groups. So in the dative case, the plural will be simple, but the singular is the tough one, okay? So, masculine nouns in singular. There are 5 different groups, okay? And when you look at these 5 groups, dative singular, everywhere there is ovi present. So, no matter what, there is a possibility for masculine noun that it will be ovi, okay? That it will have the ovi ending. But for 2 groups, there is a possibility of having a u ending. So what are these groups? Okay? Well, nouns ending in t, ch, z, j, ż, sz, ż can have a singular ending in u. Or nouns ending in d, f, w, n, r, s, t, z, and nouns ending in p, b, m, and w that do not gain palatalization in the oblique cases. So, I guess I tried to explain it in the previous video. This means basically that I believe that if you transform the noun from the nominative case to any other case, there is no I added, okay? After the consonant. Okay. So, for now, let's just stick to these guys and these guys. Okay? If the consonant or the last part of the noun ends in any of these, then you have a problem, and probably the best way for you is to memorize. And just to confirm it, if we look at our table over here, yep, there is the w sound, the eł at the end. And yep, here we go, it happens in this group. So that's why for a table there is stołu, okay? Okay, and that is also why many Polish people confuse the endings, okay? Many Polish people actually do confuse the endings sometimes when trying to declense the nouns, because of this ambiguity, that it can be either ovi or u. You just have to memorize it and just be aware of it, yeah? Even the Polish native speakers would be kind of confused at the beginning. Maybe not all of them, but some could be confused. Is it stołowi or is it stołu? Is it stołowi, stołu, stołowi, stołu? I think it's stołu, yeah. So it's just by common sense we tend to figure this thing or this shit out, but unfortunately you just have to memorize it, you know? Yeah. Okay, so I hope that explains it, that for these groups, there is memorization, hard memorization that needs to happen. And for these guys, so chi, ji, ni, hi, l, y, k, g, h, or ending anin, personal ounce ending in anin, there is only ovi. So these are the good guys. These, not so much. No. Okay, so this was the masculine singular, which is pretty tough. Then we have a feminine singular. Okay, so most, well, not on. Okay, it says right here ends in a, but disregard. So we can skip this one, skipping this part. Okay, for every feminine singular noun, there are 4 possible endings: ye, I, or e. Ye, I, e. So I-E is just pronounced as yeah by me, okay? Because it just makes sense together. So there is the explanation below that note on the feminine singular. The ending depends on the consonant preceding the final A. Again, we're dealing with another groups, which is fantastic, I know. Yeah happens after consonants such as t, d, r, m, n, p, b. Okay? Okay, I'm gonna try to end this recording before they start drilling again. So, yeah, after most consonants, t, d, r, m, n, p, b, t, d, r, m, n, p, b, and consonants often soften right here, okay? So I have made this table while waiting for the neighbors to stop. So basically, when there is a T, D, or R as the last consonant, there will be some changing or just softening of the sound, okay? So for example, you have a word mata. In dative, it would be macie. So T is transformed into chi, okay? And for example, vada is transformed into vadzie. So d, j, t, chi, d, j. And the last one is r into j, which is usually just, well, I'm not really sure if usually, but usually sounds like sh because of some other stuff that I explained really far back with the devoicing. So siostra, siostrze, siostra, siostrze. Okay? So these are the only thingies that can happen. And otherwise, you just replace the A with IE. IE, okay? Rama, ramie. Wanna, wannie. Łapa, łapie. Baba, babie. Okay? So this is the first group. The second group, the hard consonants such as c, z, ch, j, sh, j, j. Okay? So ending with these guys, or like the last consonant or diphthong is any of these guys, then you add y at the end. So for example, praca, pracy. Okay? After soft consonants such as like l, y, sh, j, ch, j, ni. Okay? And this last one, ni, can also be this guy. Okay? You add I. So for example, ziemia, ziemi. So why is it the I over here? Since the last consonant is M, so it should be over here, right? Well, I guess it's kind of because there is M with the I, so mi, which makes the M softer. So it is considered a soft consonant in this way, okay? Ziemia, 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 mia, 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 okay? So that's why ziemi, ziemi. And the last group, k, g, h, which soften to c, z, sz. Okay? Just ending i. So książka, książka. So the last one is k, książce. Książka, książce. Noga, nodze. Noga, nodze. And for example, for the word would be mucha, muszę. Mucha, muszę. Okay? So these are all the groups. And that is the feminine singular endings. Great. Now we go over to neuter singular, which is just u. Great. Finally, something simple. Thank you. Thank you, Polish language. So it is just u. Dziecko, dziecku. Okno, oknu. Miasto, miastu. Boom. There we go. Then all genders in the plural. And it's just om. Once again, thank you, Polish language, okay? No matter what, studenci, studentom. Kobiety, kobietom. Dzieci, dzieciom. Psy, psom. Just add om and you're good to go. Okay? Yeah. The obvious thing, okay, over here that I just want to pay attention is that you have to be aware of these softening thingies or not. So, student is a singular nominative word. So you add to singular nominative word om. Student om. Well, in this case, it was studenti. Okay? So you don't transfer from like the nominative plural. You transfer, you add the ending to the nominative singular, okay? So student, studentom. Okay? Kobieta, kobietom. You truncate the last vowel, a, into om. Kobieta, kobietom. Okay? This one is, I would consider it to be an exception. Okay? So dziecko, but the plural are dzieci. The same way in English there is a child, but there is children, which is kind of an exception. And the last one is psy, but psom. Okay? Okay, and for the adjectives, for masculine, the ending is emu. For feminine, the ending is a. And for neuter, it's again emu. Okay? Dobremu studentowi. So good student, or to whom? To a good student. So I gave something to a good student. Dobremu studentowi. Okay? Dobremu dziecku. Okay? But for a feminine, dobrej kobiecie. Dobrej kobiecie. Okay? So just sticking with the word good. Dobremu, dobremu, dobrej. Okay? And for all genders plural, it's either or im, and it just depends on the adjective, I'm pretty sure. So if the adjective in its normal nominative form ends with y, such as dobry, dobry is just a nominative good, okay? But for example, cheap, such as in this word, cheap books is tani, okay? Dobry, tani. So if it's end with I, it's just im. If it ends with I, it's just im. Okay? So we just keep this vowel and that m. Dobry, dobrym. Tani, tanim. Okay. So the last thing is some common mistakes and pitfalls. So of course, it's confusing dative and accusative. So the most common error, it is to remember that dative is the recipient, so to whom, while accusative is the direct object, so what? So you have to remember the X, Y, Z. Y is accusative and Z is dative or dative, okay? Okay. So it does not, just to clarify and just to make sure that it is not in any way related to the word order. For example, in this sentence, the correct sentence, daję mamie prezent, okay? So, there is a hidden I, we've talked about it in the previous video. Why? Because the form of the verb tells us, the conjugation of the verb tells us that it is me who is doing the action, okay? So action is being done by first person. So I am performing the action. So I give to the mom what? A present. So how do I know that? Just by the endings, because word order does not matter at all, okay? So just by the endings, we can infer that the present, since it looks just like a nominative form, that means it is probably accusative, okay? And having, instead of mama, mamie, the IE ending, well, that looks like dative, right? When we scroll over to over here, we have m, and we add IE at the end. So mama, mamie. Ah, okay, I get it. So this is in dative, so we are giving to mother what? A present. Okay, so you can see how you can switch around different words, but just the endings inform us of their role or function in the sentence. So you can absolutely also say daję prezent mamie. Daję prezent mamie. It would be totally valid and you still know that you are giving the present to your mom. Okay? Because the ending of this word tells you that she is receiving the present. Okay? Okay. So using accusative with, for example, pomagać or some other verbs that I have presented to you earlier. So again, in English, there are many verbs that you would use in a way that you help someone or, I don't know, thank someone, right? So in Polish, these verbs are treated more like that you perform help to someone, you give help to someone, or you give thanks to someone, So you can kind of think of it that way, and that should help you remember that actually these verbs require the dative, okay, dative. Expressing feelings with być, so the Polish word to be. So sometimes learners translate it, like for example, I am cold, pretty directly. So for example, jestem zimny. Jestem is I am. Okay, the first person to be. I am cold. Literally, I am cold. But this would kind of mean in Polish actually that you are a cold or unfeeling person, that you have no regards for, I don't know, others, or that you do not feel any emotion. Jestem zimny. Oof. If you just want to say that you feel cold, then you have to say zimno mi. So again, zimno is like a noun of cold. Yeah, noun of cold. Not adjective. And mi is the pronoun in dative. Okay, so this is the pronoun meaning the same way there is in English my or mine. This is the Polish pronoun in dative, okay? And confusing direction with recipient. Last one. So for example, in English word to can mean direction or recipient, but it is important to see the distinction, okay? So when you say I am going to the doctor, okay, in English, this actually requires genitive in Polish. Why? Well, if we were to do X action Y it, X would be I, action is going, and Y would be doctor. Okay, so I go doctor. Just doing it super simply, like a Neanderthal, okay? But in case of being a recipient, so I am thanking the doctor. Okay. It is, again, I give thanks, or like give, okay, let's do it like this. Give, Y would be thanks to the doctor. Okay. So I give thanks to doctor. Okay. So that's why In this case, it's lekarzowi, because I am giving a thanks to a doctor. But if you're just talking about direction, that you're going to somewhere, okay, it is actually does not require a dative, because you're not performing the action for someone, that you're not giving anything to anyone. It just means that you are going somewhere, okay? I am going to a doctor. So I know that it can be a little bit confusing, but it is probably easier to remember that it is not about the word to itself, okay? It is just not the word to, but more of a giving something to someone, okay? So since you are not giving anything to anyone by going, it's just I am going to a place, and that's it, okay? But in this case, I am giving my thanks to someone. Or for example, I am giving a present to someone, okay? I hope you get the slight little distinction there. Okay, so thank you for watching and see you in the next video.